horror fans, and welcome to my assessment of Halloween H20 20 years later. So obviously, as the title implies, this takes 20 years after the original Halloween, and this time we have the return of Laurie Strode, who is now gone into hiding, faking her own death, and is now the headmistress of a boarding school. So Laurie Strode lives with her son, who's 17 years old, which is relevant to the plot. If you've seen the movie, you know why. And this movie deals with some interesting subjects like trauma and alcoholism. Nothing too deep because it is a horror film, but you don't often see that type of thing play into a horror film. And of course she's still worried that Michael will return and come to finish the job of what he tried 20 years ago. Even though she saw somebody burn in that explosion, she doesn't know who it really was. And this movie actually ignores the events of Halloween, well, we'll say Halloween 3, but they all ignore Halloween 3, but the storyline of Halloween 4, 5 and 6 is not acknowledged, and considering how the mythology of the later sequels came into play, I kind of understand that they take this movie basically back down to Halloween basics, which I actually think was a good idea. Otherwise it would have probably become too convoluted. I really do like Halloween H20. It's a very divisive movie among the Halloween fans, but I like it. I think slimming down the plot and just focusing mainly on Laurie Strode was a good idea. And I like the theme of this movie, facing your fear and the redemption of doing that. And there's also a scene which I really like where Laurie Strode is teaching the kids about the story of Frankenstein and asking one of the students what Elizabeth should have done, and she said should have faced her fear sooner, which parallels what's happening to Laurie Strode. And it was a nice touch of this film to cast Janet Leigh as a co-worker of Jamie Lee Curtis. Even has the line of, if I could be maternal for a minute, of course, because Janet Leigh is Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, and of course she was in the horror classic Psycho. And this movie is probably actually one of my favourite sequels. I think it's a decent companion to Halloween 1, 2, and it's become known as the Laurie Strode timeline, which of course is going to change with the new Halloween that's just been released. I think Jamie Lee gives a really good performance playing the traumatised Laurie Strode in this. And actually most of the acting is pretty good. This introduced Josh Hartnett, and I know some people aren't fans of him, but I think he's really good in this movie considering it was his first role. Okay, this entry isn't particularly gory as some of the other Halloween movies, and to me, I don't have a problem with it. It also does the kind of suspense more than blood effects and gore. I mean, there is some. And if you've seen the movie, I actually think this has a great ending to the series. I would have been okay if they finished the series here. I mean, it's a great ending and nothing could ruin it. Okay, apart from that, that could ruin the ending, which is the one we'll be talking about next. Halloween Resurrection. Oh, God. See you in the next one.